Why do I like this wooden Spokeshave better than the metal Spokeshave? I'm not exactly sure 100% why, but I do believe that it's the very acute angle of attack of that blade compared to the steeper angle of these metal Spokeshaves. It's kind of like if you're familiar with these low angle jack planes, where where they tend to work pretty well on end grain or as a shooting board. Same type of thing here. So this really works well for end grain. And a lot of what I do is kind of not very faced grain. It's kind of on a 45 degrees. So when I'm shaping this block of wood on this golf club head, the grain's running this way, and I'm using the Spokeshave on this face here. And I find when I'm using this low angle wooden shave, it works a lot better than this one. The other reason I think that these wooden Spokeshaves work better is that it's almost like a Travisher. Travisher is a really convex type of Spokeshave that's used for making chair seats and other types of things, kind of scooping out the material there. But this blade, see if you can see that, it's not flat. It's very subtly curved. So that makes sharpening a little bit more of a challenge than just putting it on a flat stone. You got to consider some different options. I'm going to show you those. So you'll find two different types of wooden Spokeshaves in general. There's one with the more traditional tangs that are just wedged in there. And then these have the locking nuts or captive nuts, which supposedly make them adjustable. But even if I have the threads on here really tight, it's still rattling around. So basically it's almost the same thing in my opinion, but this one is actually kind of simpler to use, quicker to take out. So we're going to show you how to sharpen this blade. They're both the same once you get the blade off. To get it out, just take a few taps with the hammer back and forth, not all on one side all at once, and it should pop out. So you can see the tang here, very well smithed with an acute edge here, and the tangs are tapered here to fit in. Now sometimes what will happen is this part gets worn out right here, and what ends up happening is the blade is too low and it can't cut at all. In that case, you could fill it in with a piece of wood, a little shim in there, or even a piece of paper and a pinch if you just need something temporarily. But whatever it takes to get that blade elevated up a little bit. I believe I did that on one of my Spokeshaves that I have. The other thing you want to look at is how much wear and tear you have here. I actually have quite a bit on this one. I'm going to wait because I still have a little bit of a flat surface here. But eventually what you could do is shave this all down with a file and put a piece of brass in there, or another piece of wood, some hardwood like boxwood or lignum vitae. So you can see how this Spokeshave is hollowed out, and here's a piece of brass that you can put in. These are a little tricky to do because you have to make sure that brass is exactly flush with the blade. You can use a piece of wood too. So if you're using a piece of wood, it's somewhat easier to do. It's not going to last as long, but put the piece of wood in, and then I would just keep working it on a sharpening stone or something till it's flush with this blade. It's not always so straightforward. It takes a lot of fiddling. So my best advice is to just try to find a Spokeshave that's in good condition. It takes a lot less work. So with this ruler, you can see the little gap here. So the whole thing is curved. So in effect, it's almost like a Travisher anyway. So that makes it a little difficult. You can't just sharpen the bevel edge on a wide flat stone. Now, if you have a modern Spokeshave, a lot of the blades are indeed flat on the bottom, and they're not cambered like this is, or bowed, I guess you can call it. So that makes for easier sharpening. However, I don't know if they perform as well. It's maybe perhaps of that little bowing, it helps make the Spokeshave work better. So if you do have a flat Spokeshave blade, you could just take, raise your sharpening stone up on a block and just take some passes like this, and that'll work. Now while I'm here, we could work on flattening or work the sole. So let me put a little water on there. So for this, one hand is adequate. You can use two if you want. And you just go back and forth, pressing in the center, pressing left, pressing right. Then I have, I'm holding it, all the pressure here, and then all the pressure on the right side. Just kind of go back and forth. If you want, you can use a marker, but I think hopefully we'll just be able to tell what's going on based on the shine. You can see here we have a lot of work to do on this to get all of this material shiny again and flattened. But as long as we can get some shininess back to about here, that's fine. I'm not worried about all this and all, excuse me, and all back here. Now, if your stone's wide enough, like this one here, you can go back, you can go forward and backwards. That's another option. So this one's a rougher stone, so you can go forwards and backwards. For me, it's actually easier to do it this way. So I'll apply even pressure with both fingers, then a little bit on the left and a lot on the left, then even pressure again, then a lot on the right, or sorry, a little bit on the right and a lot on the right. And just keep doing that. Let's see if we made any progress. We're making some progress. We're starting to see some shininess here that we didn't see before. So as I mentioned before, this blade is bowed. So if you use a wide stone, you'll just be hitting the high spots. One option is to take a piece of wood, put it in your vise, put some sandpaper on there, and just, go like this. So that's one option. If you happen to have a sharpening stone that has an edge on it that you can use for sharpening, you could do the same thing. And what I'm doing here is I'm putting pressure on the leading edge, the front, towards the front with my fingers. And that way I'm ensuring I'm working on this bevel here. The nice thing about these spoke shaves is that the shave is hollowed right there. So you don't have to remove too much material. Now I'm not fortunate enough to move up the various grits. This is my dual-sided stone, so I can't really work on it. I got a piece of plastic in there, so I can't do it that way. So either sandpaper or you can actually use the Tormek. Now I do have the luxury of a slow grinding Waterstone Tormek, so I can do the same concept here. I just don't have to move my hands, and it's usually a little quicker. You can see here, I got to press down here, and then the other side lifts up. You have to get the very end, probably not really. There's just no cutting edge there. But we're starting to make some progress. This might be a little pitted here. So if you have the luxury of that stone, definitely worth using. So there's quite a bit of pitting on this. So I'm not going to be able to get a great finish all throughout the entire length of it. But we'll see what happens. It shouldn't be too bad, but about 75% of it's going to be usable. So believe it or not, this is still narrow enough, this stone, to work the spoke shave typically. So I'm just applying a little forward pressure, and I'm seeing a burr forming. I can probably feel it. Yeah, so there's a burr. I'm seeing that burr, and it's almost done. Let's put some marker on that so you can see what's happening. Alright, there's some marker on here. Let's see how much of that surface we are getting to. It actually looks kind of irregular. So we'll see. So we're getting the front half for sure. But we're not getting that back half. We don't really need to get that back half. And because this is pitted here, I'm not going to need to go all the way to the edge. But in theory, I could. But I can definitely see a burr. I don't know if you could appreciate the burr there, but my fingernail will hit it. So you can feel it. We'll take the burr off by putting it on the side of the stone. You would do the same thing on regular sharpening stone if you don't have the motorized method. So we're actually almost there. Doesn't take too long. Next is to go over to the strop. And this is already charged with some abrasive paste. Green, red, I don't know the difference. I know there is a difference in terms of aggressiveness, but they're about the same, close enough. Now this might not be so easy to do. Let's see, I think we can get, we can get this in there still. Okay. So just kind of moving the burr back and forth. And I like to finish off by just kind of taking little passes. And again, you would do the same thing. You have a leather strap here. You could do the same thing. Just go back and forth like this. Now, if you don't have a wheel, you can maybe just work on the corner here. So I still see a little bit of a burr. Now it's coming off. Yeah, and you just kind of keep going back and forth, lighter and lighter passes with the leather, and then you should be good. So that should do the trick. Yeah, still got a little bit of a burr there. Oops, that was bad. Never put the blade into the leather like I just did. Alright, so that should do the trick. Just to show you the blade a little better, I don't think we had a good view of it. We really only got the very leading edge cleaned up here. It kind of looks all wavy, but the leading edge is cleaned up. I'm not sure who sharpened this before, but I don't have to worry about all that. The other nice thing is this is all hollowed out here, and it makes it a lot easier to sharpen. There's a lot less metal that you have to work with. Just to show again, if you don't have a wheel, just kind of moving back and forth, pressing with my left hand hard, then my right hand back and forth. And you could go like this, but you're actually not going to be getting, you could probably put a little feeler gauge in there and probably slip it under. So you're actually not going to be getting this part. So you can just work on the corner here, back and forth. That usually does the trick. Doesn't even have to be that narrow. You could probably go about halfway, and usually that's good enough. So that's it. Another method that I've seen people like Paul Sellers has on YouTube is to just grab a block of wood, put your Spokeshave blade on there, grab a piece of thin piece of wood, and put some sandpaper, adhere some sandpaper on there. And you can adjust the height of this up and down and go back and forth. Again, you probably need, something about no more than half the width is probably going to do the trick to get you to keep that camber there. Another thing that might happen is that these mortise holes might get too wide and the tang doesn't stay in well. So that can either give you a loose tang, or it might set in too far, again, below the surface of this front leading edge, and you won't be able to cut. If that's the case, you can just slip in a very thin piece of wood. It might only take something like the width of a piece of paper, the thickness of a piece of paper, and just glue it in there. Or I guess you could put, a piece of tape on here. Blue tape might even do the trick as well. So we have this all sharpened up, not completely to the edge because of the pitting. Let's see how it works. Just give it some taps. And usually you want to bottom it out. So we'll see how that works. Okay, let's see how that works. So the left side's not cutting much because I didn't sharpen it. And that's kind of what I want right now. I can probably tap that in just a little bit more to get a thinner shaving if I wanted to, but this seems to be working fine. But yeah, soon I'm going to need to plane this down and put something on there, or just get another Spokeshave. By the way, in terms of holding this Spokeshave, you should be able to do most of the work by just using your thumb and your index finger, and let the other fingers, the middle finger and the ring finger, rest on top, and then just kind of have your palm touching the top. But most of the work is done with your fingers where they're supposed to be here, and in the thumbs in the back. Okay, you don't want to hold it like this. It kind of works, but it doesn't give you the fine touch. Sometimes I'll find when I want really fine touch, I'll just hold it on the corners here, and then I can really kind of feel where things are. But it's almost the same thing. I'm going kind of against the grain right now, but these are a pleasure to use. Very simple, very affordable. And that's how you sharpen a traditional wooden Spokeshave blade.